Imagine this. You bring your newborn baby home from the hospital, the happiest moment of your life. But what if, day by day, that baby begins to change? His innocent blue eyes turn black. His sweet little laugh twists into the voice of a grown man. And a DNA test reveals this child isn't even yours. And what if the real baby is still alive, buried beneath your own house, guarded by something that isn't human? Would you have the courage to go downstairs and face it? The day Claire brought her newborn home, the world felt sharper, brighter, alive with promise. The hospital had smelled of antiseptic and sorrow, but now, within her quiet suburban house, everything smelled of baby lotion and warm milk. Her son, Jacob, was wrapped tightly in a blue blanket, his tiny fingers curling around hers like a fragile claim on her soul. But the first night, something felt wrong. Claire woke to the sound of soft knocking. At first, she thought it was at the front door, but the sound came from inside from Jacob's nursery. Her heart lurched as she ran barefoot down the hall, chest tightening with maternal panic. She pushed open the door. The crib was still. Jacob slept, his chest rising and falling with a rhythm so delicate it almost wasn't there. The knocking had stopped. She told herself it was the house settling, old wood shifting, nothing more. But as days passed, the unease deepened. Jacob's eyes, once the clear blue of a summer sky, seemed darker each morning, as if a shadow was bleeding into them. When Claire mentioned it to her husband, Mark, he laughed it off. Baby's eyes change color all the time, he said, barely looking up from his laptop. But it wasn't just the eyes. Jacob was watching her, not in an aimless, unfocused way babies stare, but with intent. His gaze followed her movements, and sometimes, God help her, she thought he was smirking. The smirk became undeniable one quiet afternoon. She had been humming to him while folding tiny onesies, the sunlight spilling soft gold across the carpet. When she looked down into the crib, Jacob's lips twitched upward, not the gummy smile of an infant, but a deliberate, sly grin. A grown man's expression on a newborn face. Claire dropped the laundry. Her chest clenched. That night, she tried to tell Mark, tried to explain that Jacob wasn't acting like other babies. But Mark was exhausted, short-tempered, and dismissed her. "You're just tired, Claire. Postpartum, you need rest. Rest and help." 2 nights later, she was jolted awake by laughter. Not the sweet coo of a baby, but the deep, raspy chuckle of a man. She froze, her breath caught in her throat. The sound drifted from the nursery low, mocking, familiar in a way she couldn't place. She forced herself down the hall, hands shaking, every instinct screaming to run. She opened the nursery door. Jacob lay in the crib, silent now. His eyes were wide open dark, bottomless, and staring at her. "Who are you?" Claire whispered before she could stop herself. The baby smiled. A week later, she noticed a change in his scent. Not the soft, milky sweetness of newborn skin, but something sour, like damp earth, like something that had been buried. She bathed him over and over, scrubbing his delicate skin until she cried, but the smell always returned, and the knocking, always the knocking. Sometimes soft, sometimes loud, always at night. It came from the nursery walls, from inside the crib, once even from beneath the floor. When she pressed her ear to the wooden planks, her blood ran cold. She could swear she heard breathing. Desperate, she brought it up at Jacob's next checkup. The doctor smiled too politely, said babies can't laugh like adults, can't watch like that, can't smell like that. Claire almost begged him to look again, to really look. But then the doctor did. He leaned over the crib, lifting Jacob gently into his arms. And for one terrifying second, his expression changed. The doctor's smile faltered, his eyes widened, and he froze, staring into Jacob's face as though seeing something he shouldn't. He placed the baby back in the crib carefully, like one might place down a loaded gun. "Your son is fine," he said, voice tight. perfectly healthy, and he left the room without looking at her again. That night, Claire found muddy footprints on the nursery carpet, small like a child's, but Jacob couldn't walk yet. And when she tried to clean them, the stains sank deeper into the fibers, spreading darker, like blood blooming in water. Jacob cooed behind her. When she turned, she swore the crib was empty for a split second. Then there he was again, lying still, watching. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. She opened it with trembling hands. It was a photo of Jacob, taken from above while he slept in his crib. The timestamp, 3 hours before she'd put him to bed. Claire stopped sleeping. Every creak of the house jolted her awake. Every shadow made her skin crawl. She double-checked the locks each night, even shoved a chair under the nursery doorknob, but nothing kept the sense of intrusion away. The photo on her phone haunted her. She showed it to Mark, voice shaking, begging him to take it seriously. He barely looked. "You probably left the camera on." "Some app glitch." "It's not a glitch, Mark," she snapped. "Look at the timestamp, it's from before I put him in the crib." But Mark shut his laptop with a sigh, rubbed his temples, and muttered, "Claire, you need help. Real help." The word stung, because she feared he might be right. But then the bruises started. Tiny bruises bloomed along Jacob's arms and legs. Perfect little fingerprints pressed into his soft skin. When Claire confronted Mark, he turned pale with anger. "You think I would hurt my own child?" he shouted. "No," she cried. "I don't think it's you." "Then who, Claire?" His voice cracked. "Who?" She didn't answer, couldn't, because deep down she knew. It wasn't a who. It was a what. That night, the knocking came louder than ever, rattling the nursery walls. Claire clutched the baby monitor, heart pounding, as the sound grew into a violent pounding. Jacob was crying now, his wails jagged and raw. She ran into the nursery, and the noise stopped instantly. The crib shook, just slightly, as if something beneath it was pushing upward. Claire grabbed Jacob, clutched him to her chest, and fled the room. She didn't sleep the rest of the night, rocking him in the living room while the walls whispered. Yes, whispered. She could almost hear words, muffled but insistent, like voices on the other side of a thin wall. By morning, she was shaking so badly she could hardly hold a cup of coffee. That's when she made the call. To her sister, Anna. Anna arrived that afternoon, all sharp edges and skeptical eyes. "You look awful," she said bluntly. "What's going on?" Claire told her everything. The laughter, the smell, the photo, the bruises. Anna listened, arms crossed, face unreadable. When Claire finished, Anna sighed. "You need rest." "Maybe even to see someone?" Claire's throat tightened. Not Anna, too. But then Jacob giggled. Both women froze. It was the same sound Claire had heard before, deep, guttural, like an old man chuckling in a dark room. Anna went pale. She backed up a step, shaking her head. "That wasn't a baby," she whispered. "No," Claire said, her eyes filled with tears. "No, it wasn't." Anna stayed the night, insisting she'd prove nothing was wrong. But when the house grew quiet and the shadows deepened, the knocking began again. Slow, deliberate, like fists pressing against wood from the inside out. Claire and Anna sat on the couch, clutching each other, listening. The monitor on the coffee table crackled. A voice. Low, male, distorted, whispering, "She knows." Anna slapped the monitor off with shaking hands. Jesus Christ, what the hell was that? Claire couldn't speak. Her whole body was trembling. At dawn, Anna packed her bag. "I'm sorry," she said, not meeting Claire's eyes. "I can't stay here. I don't know what's happening, but Claire, I'm scared." And then she was gone. Claire felt more alone than ever. The next day, she booked a private DNA test she had to know. She swabbed Jacob's cheek while he stared at her with unnerving calm, as if he understood what she was doing. as if he dared her to finish. The results came back 3 days later. Not a match, not her child. Claire collapsed on the kitchen floor, sobbing until her throat burned. She had given birth to him, held him seconds after delivery. She remembered the pain, the blood, the relief of seeing his face. But the test screamed the truth. The baby in her house was not hers. That night, she confronted the crib. "Where is my son?" She whispered, voice raw. The baby smiled. And in that same deep, unnatural voice, it said, "Downstairs." Claire staggered back, bile rising in her throat. Her ears rang. The word echoed through her skull, through the bones of the house. Downstairs, the basement. For the first time in weeks, she realized the knocking had always been coming from below. Claire stood at the top of the basement stairs for nearly an hour, the baby monitor clutched in her hand like a talisman. The wooden door was chipped and scarred, as if something had clawed at it from the other side. The air seeping up from the crack beneath smelled damp, sour like rotting leaves or graves. She told herself she wouldn't go down. She told herself she'd wait for Mark to come home. But Mark didn't come home. His boss texted he was working late again. So Claire went down alone. Each step groaned under her weight as though the house itself warned her to turn back. The light bulb above flickered weakly, barely pushing back the shadows. The air grew colder, sharper, biting against her skin. And then she heard it, crying. Not Jacob's cry, softer, fainter, from behind the old storage shelves that lined the far wall. Claire's breath caught in her throat. Her legs shook, but she forced herself forward, moving boxes and bins aside until she found the source, a section of wall, darker than the rest, where the concrete looked newer. She pressed her ear against it. The crying was clearer now, thin, desperate, unmistakably a baby's. Her baby's. Claire stumbled back, shaking. She wanted to scream, but no sound came. The wall pulsed with the sound of her child, trapped, suffocating, begging for her. Behind her, something shifted. She spun around. Jacob sat at the bottom of the stairs, not crawling sitting upright, still as stone. His face was blank, his eyes pits of black. Slowly, he tilted his head. "You found him," the voice said. The words slithered from his mouth, too low, too wrong for a baby's throat. "Good." Claire screamed. She ran past him, shoving the basement door closed, locking it, her hands trembling so badly she nearly dropped the key. From the other side, she heard the faint thump of crawling, the sound of tiny palms slapping against wood. That night, she barely dared to breathe. Mark finally came home and found her sitting in the kitchen, pale and shaking. When she tried to tell him, the words came out fractured, hysterical. "There's something in the basement. It's him. The real Jacob. I heard him, Mark. He's alive down there." Mark stared at her, jaw tight. Then he exploded. "Enough, Claire. Do you even hear yourself? You're talking about our baby like he's some kind of monster. He's not ours." She screamed back. "I had him tested. He's not ours, Mark." Mark's face twisted in disbelief. You tested him? Jesus Christ, Claire." He rubbed his face, pacing, muttering. "You're losing it. I should have seen this coming. You need help, medication, a hospital maybe." "No," she whispered, clutching his arm. "Please, Mark, listen." But Jacob's cry cut through the house, a sharp, piercing wail from the nursery upstairs. Mark froze. "He needs me." He yanked his arm free and stormed up the stairs. Claire followed, begging him to stop, but he didn't listen. When they reached the nursery, the crib was empty. The crying still filled the room, loud, deafening, but the crib was bare. Mark's face drained of color. Where is he?" Claire pointed to the monitor on the dresser. Its tiny screen showed the crib, but instead of empty sheets, the feed displayed Jacob lying there, giggling. Mark turned to the crib again, empty. He stumbled back, eyes wide with horror. It's not possible. Then the door slammed shut behind them. The lights flickered and went out. In the dark, Jacob's laugh rumbled low and guttural, circling them, bouncing from wall to wall. Something small brushed past Claire's ankle. Something cold tugged at her hair. Mark fumbled with his phone light, but when it flicked on, the walls were covered in handprints. Tiny, muddy handprints smeared across the wallpaper, overlapping, dozens, hundreds, reaching out from nowhere. And then the smell hit. Damp earth, decay. Get out, Claire whispered. We have to get out. But the crib creaked behind them, slowly, rocking on its own. A shape rose from within, tall, skeletal, draped in shadow. Its face was obscured, but in its arms it cradled something small. Something that cried. The sound pierced Claire's heart. Her knees buckled. Jacob, she sobbed. My Jacob. The figure tilted its head, cradling the unseen baby closer. Its voice was a rasp that filled the room. You left him with us. Claire reached forward, desperate, but Mark yanked her back. Don't touch it. The figure vanished, leaving the crib empty once more. Only the smell remained, stronger, heavier, and from the monitor screen, Jacob's face smiled at them, eyes glowing pale white. Downstairs, the voice echoed again. Claire knew she couldn't keep running. Whatever had taken her baby was in the basement, buried in the concrete, clawing for her attention. The thing in the crib, the thing wearing her son's face, it wanted her to look. That night, while Mark finally collapsed into uneasy sleep, Claire crept downstairs. She carried a hammer in one hand, her phone flashlight in the other. The basement door loomed, silent now, but she felt something behind it waiting. She unlocked it slowly, each click of the tumblers echoing like a gunshot. The door groaned open. The air was colder than before. A damp mist clung to the steps. She forced herself down, each creak of wood vibrating through her bones. The crying started again, muffled, weak, from behind that false wall. Claire set down her phone, gripped the hammer with both hands, and swung. Concrete cracked, flakes flying into the air like bone fragments. She swung again, harder, until her arms ached and the wall fractured into jagged openings. From within, the sound of crying grew sharper, her baby's voice. Hold on, she sobbed. Mommy's coming. She clawed at the hole with bleeding fingers until she tore away enough stone to peer inside. What she saw froze her blood. Tiny skeletons. Piles of them stacked in neat rows like toys abandoned in a closet. Infants, dozens of them, their empty eye sockets staring back. And in the center of the pile, wrapped in rotting fabric, something moved. A baby, alive, her baby. Jacob's eyes, real Jacob's, blinked up at her. Pale blue, innocent, filled with terror. His tiny fists reached for her, trembling. Claire screamed, desperate to drag him out, but skeletal hands erupted from the pile, clutching her wrists. Cold, brittle fingers dug into her skin, pulling her closer to the hole. She fought, thrashing, screaming until her throat tore. And then she heard it, laughter. From behind her, she spun, still pinned by the grasping bones. The false Jacob stood in the center of the basement, no longer pretending. His skin rippled, stretching. His body elongated, limbs too long, face twisting into a grotesque grin. You can't take him, the creature growled, its voice the rumble of graves splitting open. He is ours, Claire struggled, tears streaming. He's my son. The creature tilted its head, eyes gleaming white. So were they. It gestured to the skeletons behind the wall. One by one, the skulls began to chatter, their jaws snapping like teeth grinding. A chorus of wails filled the basement, the cries of 100 stolen infants. Claire thrashed, screaming, until she felt something crack beneath her grip, the hammer. She swung it blindly, smashing brittle hands to dust, forcing herself free. With a final burst of strength, she grabbed her son from the pile, yanking him into her arms. He was warm. breathing, alive. The creature roared. A sound so deep the walls shuddered, dust raining from the ceiling. The basement lights exploded, plunging everything into red-black shadow. "Give him back," it thundered. Claire ran. Clutching her baby, she tore up the stairs, the creature's footsteps pounding behind her. She slammed the basement door shut, locking it just as fists hammered from the other side. The whole frame shook. Mark stumbled into the hallway, groggy, furious. "What the hell are you doing?" "Run," Claire screamed. "Get out of the house." But he didn't move. He saw the baby in her arms, pale and fragile, and then looked at the nursery monitor on the dresser. It was still on. On the screen, Jacob lay in the crib, giggling. Mark's face twisted. He looked at her as if she'd lost her mind. "That's our son." "Who the hell are you holding?" Claire backed away, shaking her head violently. "This is him. This is Jacob." "That thing is lying to you." The basement door splintered behind them. A clawed hand burst through, pale and skeletal, reaching. Mark stepped toward her. "Claire, give me the baby." "No," she screamed. And then the power died. The house sank into darkness, broken only by the glow of the monitor. The false Jacob's eyes glowed brighter, grinning from the screen, while the real Jacob whimpered in her arms. From the basement, the voice rose, deeper, surrounding them. "You'll never leave." Claire bolted for the front door. She yanked it open and froze. The street outside was gone. Only blackness stretched out before her, endless and suffocating. The air reeked of damp soil. Far in the distance, faint cries echoed, hundreds of babies weeping in unison. Mark's scream tore through the house behind her. She turned, heart shattering, as the creature pulled him into the basement's gaping maw. His fingers clawed at the doorframe until they snapped, leaving streaks of blood. Then he was gone. The door slammed shut. Silence. Claire stood trembling in the foyer, clutching her baby, her real baby. His tiny chest rose and fell against her own, proof that she hadn't imagined it. And then, from the shadows of the nursery, the monitor flickered one last time. Her own face appeared on the screen, smiling, holding the false Jacob, whispering in a voice that wasn't hers, "You brought him home." Claire's scream echoed into the blackness outside the door, swallowed whole.